Welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft, welcoming you to our live 5 days a week look into all things Oakland County. Today we'll be talking to university officials, elected representatives, and more about topics important to you right here in Oakland County. Let's get into today's headlines on our website at CivicCenterTV.com on our local news page. Our top story today is from Peg McNichol at the Oakland Press. Broadband survey is planned for Oakland County. Eliminating gaps in broadband internet coverage across the county is the goal of a joint project between the county and the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, otherwise known as SEMCOG. Commissioners Philip Weipert, a Republican from South Lyon, and Gwen Markham, a Democrat from Novi, sponsored a $45,000 grant application for the Tri-County Summit Regional Broadband Survey Project. Wayne County is adding $40,000 in grant money to the project and $85,000 in federal funds, and local matching grants will also be added in an effort to create an accurate and up-to-date broadband coverage map in Oakland County and surrounding areas. Broadband internet means people can get online quickly and use a lot of data, such as watching high-quality videos online. Broadband can also be transmitted in multiple ways, according to the FCC. The definition, including fiber optic, wireless, cable, and satellite or other networks, are included in what it means to be broadband internet. The kind of internet connection became critical during the pandemic when people had to work or attend school from home. Information from Oakland County residents will be used to update an incomplete statewide map and support the county's efforts to get federal funds to improve broadband access. Commissioner Weipert told the Oakland Press that people who have high-speed internet connections don't realize just how many people go without it. He said service is spotty in South Lyon, for example, and non-existent in some communities in northern Oakland County. A U.S. Census report shows about 450,000 of Oakland County's residents, or 89.2%, have access to broadband. That leaves 11,000 children and 44,000 households in total with no internet or very slow internet connections. Of those, close to 3,700 households rely on mobile devices and cellular service for internet access. Those without a laptop or a desktop computer include 2,600 children and 76,000 households in total. Weipert recalled a woman on jury duty delighted by the free internet access offered to the jurors. She was trying to find a job and needed to apply online, but she didn't have internet access at home, he said. He also cited examples of school children sitting in parking lots near closed schools or libraries or fast food restaurants just to get their homework done during the pandemic. The survey is part of a statewide effort called Connected Michigan to document rural internet access in Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb counties, which were not included in a previous survey. Quote, this survey and the data it will collect are critical to making broadband infrastructure improvements for our residents, said Commissioner Markham. Continuing on, she said, quote, I am happy we are able to work with SEMCOG to secure funding for this project, and I look forward to increasing access to our broadband for those who live in Oakland County. Good news there. Also making headlines on our website, on our local news page at CivicCenterTV.com, this time from Shantae Lewis at the Detroit News. Belle Isle traffic jams are prompting a study and a free pilot shuttle service. Belle Isle State Park officials have launched a traffic study to help reduce traffic on the island in an effort that they hope will be aided by a pilot program of free shuttle services that began last week. The study is being conducted by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, or DNR, the Michigan Department of Transportation, and the Belle Isle Conservancy. The study will collect data on the number of visitors and vehicles surveying the use of the park space and doing aerial surveys over the island Friday through Monday, July 13th and 14th. The objective is to analyze traffic flows where people go and the current configuration of the roadways, in close quotes, said DNR Parks and Recreation Chief Ron Olson. He continued on by saying, quote, it will allow us to take a step back and look at what adjustments and changes need to be made to make traffic flow safer. Detroit's 982 Island Park had about 5.2 million visitors in 2021, not including cyclists and walkers who crossed the bridge from Jefferson Avenue, according to the DNR. State officials consider the Island Park to be second in popularity to Niagara Falls, which had 4.4 million visitors last year, but had COVID-19 restrictions in place and saw fewer than its normal number of visitors in the previous year. Belle Isle Park Manager Karis Floyd said officials want to focus on solving the park's traffic jams. The park has only one entrance and one exit. Quote, the goal is to reduce heavy traffic congestion that can cause visitor headaches and island closures due to parking capacity limits, Floyd said in a statement. The shuttle shuttle operated over the 4th of July weekend, consisting of biodiesel buses that looped around the island between the beach parking area, Belle Isle Aquarium, Anna Scripps Whitcomb Conservatory, and the Kids Row Playground, according to the Department of Natural Resources. Capacity closures were unnecessary because the shuttles helped to spread out the number of vehicles that were on the island, according to Floyd. Operated by the Detroit Bus Company, shuttle services running from noon to 8 p.m. Thursday to Saturday are the hours this summer. Quote, we want people to spend more time at their favorite destination and less time driving around looking for a parking spot, said Floyd. Drivers are still required to have a recreation passport in order to enter the island. Visitors arriving on foot, bicycle, or by bus, however, do not need a passport. While the traffic situation is being studied, park officials are urging visitors to be patient and understanding when arriving on the island. Quote, a good outcome of this study will be the consultants looking at vehicle capacity and visitor capacity for the park and getting a good handle on what that is and how to optimize it, said Amanda Treadwell, an urban area field planner for the DNR. None of the cameras will be used to identify visitors or vehicles, according to the DNR. Quote, the plane flight will have 4 cameras mounted on the plane to capture aerial photographs of the distribution of visitors and cars, then also using cameras around the park to count vehicle movements, Treadwell said. The traffic study will continue into the 2023 calendar year with public comment in February, March, and April of next year. In addition to the shuttles, there is a Detroit Department of Transportation bus route to the island. The number 12 Conant route runs 60 minutes every day, 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and 8 a.m. until 6:45 p.m. on Sundays. The shuttle can be caught at any one of its stops once on the island. That full article from the Detroit News, as well as our final article today making headlines on our CivicCenterTV.com local news page from MLive's Caitlin French. The Michigan baby formula plant has resumed its production after flooding halted the original reboot at the Abbott plant. After facing a setback due to flooding damage, the Abbott Nutrition Factory in Sturgis, Michigan is back at it and producing baby formula once again. The plant had previously restarted its baby formula production on June 4th after the facility had stopped production for several months following an FDA investigation in February. However, the plant was closed again on June 15th after severe storms in western Michigan caused flooding at the facility. Because of the flooding, production had stopped on the EleCare specialty formula to allow the plant to assess damage and re-sanitize the facility. Abbott is a major supplier of baby formula in the U.S. It produces a variety of formula products, including specialty formulas for babies with sensitive stomachs or other health concerns, such as EleCare. Production of EleCare was restored at Sturgis following a July 1st reboot, Abbott spokesperson John Koval told the Associated Press. According to Koval, the plant is working to restart Similac production as soon as possible, and more information will be provided when it becomes available. MLive previously reported that Michigan contracts with Abbott exclusively to provide formula for families enrolled in the federally funded Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, or Children, otherwise known as WIC, which aids more than 200,000 mothers, babies, and children every month younger than 5. The plant closures came at a time when formula was already difficult to find due to the pandemic supply chain disruptions. Abbott Nutrition recalled products linked to harmful bacteria. The possible contamination, which killed 2 children, stopped production at the pharmaceutical company's Sturgis plant and led to an FDA investigation of the facility. According to the Associated Press, the FDA was investigating 4 bacterial infections among infants, which led to 2 deaths who consumed powdered formula from the plant. The company said its products have not been directly linked to infections which involve different bacterial strains. That's according to the Associated Press. FDA inspectors eventually uncovered a host of violations at the plant, including bacterial contamination, a leaky roof, and lax safety protocols. All those, of course, also according to the Associated Press. On Wednesday, the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, announced plans to help overseas makers of infant formula that have sent supplies under emergency approval to address the shortfall, secure long-term authorization to market their formula in the United States as well, according to the Associated Press. All of those articles making headlines on our website, CivicCenterTV.com, on our local news page, as well as those ever helpful links at the top of the page to information on COVID-19 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services in Lansing, Michigan, and of course the Oakland County Health Division locally in Pontiac. We have a great program ahead on this Monday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Up next, I'll be joined by Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center Center Coordinator Blake Bonkowski, followed by U.S. Representative Andy Levin at the bottom of the hour. That's all up next. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast, our live daily 1-hour show about all things Oakland County. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program and find us on demand on CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV and other TV, radio, and web outlets throughout the Oakland County area. Joining us now on the Megacast is the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, Blake Bunkowski. Blake, thanks for being with us today.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on the program. A big designation was achieved by Oakland University recently. For the first time, it's achieved a 5 out of 5 star rating on the Campus Pride Index, which now names this as one of the top LGBTQ friendly campuses in the state of Michigan and beyond. Can you tell us about that designation, what that means for Oakland University, and more importantly, what it means for the LGBTQ community at Oakland University?
Yes, so we're extremely excited. We've been working for over 10 years on improving the campus climate for LGBTQ plus students at Oakland University. And from 2013, we submitted for the first time. We had a 3-star rating. And the star ratings don't really represent specific percentages. They're a culmination of a lot of different factors. There's over 200 questions on the index. And so we do a lot of small things and big things that all add up to this new 5-star rating. So that puts us in competition with only one other school, the University of Michigan, at 5 stars. And for us to be with them at 5 stars as a much smaller campus with much fewer resources is a really huge deal. So some of the things that have contributed to that 5-star rating have been our new LGBTQ plus alumni group, as well as our new preferred pronouns policies. So students can input pronouns in the system that we use for student information. We're working to distribute that information out to relevant places. Students can put a preferred name in the system and have their emails and professor interactions and fellow student interactions be with the name that's authentic to themselves. We do a lot of programming to support the LGBT community. And we have a large and boisterous center, the Gender and Sexuality Center, where students can come hang out, get resources. And so we're very excited that those last couple of programs, Preferred Name and Alumni Group, have put us up to 5 stars. And we're just so excited that we finally reached this after so many years of hard work.
So tell us about Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, Blake. What sort of services does it provide to the LGBTQ community at Oakland University, or other activities, as you mentioned, to provide that safe, welcoming space for them to kind of reset and recuperate on campus?
Yeah, reset and recuperate is a great way to frame that. So we describe a few different tiers of service. One of those is just being a place, as you'd mentioned, where people can come, decompress, be amongst people who have similar identities to them. And for me, as a person who came up as a student in the space before getting to be the coordinator, that was really huge for me. I had never really met other trans people until I came to Oakland, came into the GSC, and there were tons of us. And that was absolutely life-changing for me to have those chosen family relationships while still in school. And friendships and professional contexts that I can take with me the rest of my life. We also can offer specific support to students. So if they are struggling with something on or off campus, family relationships, they're being misgendered, they're being mistreated, we can help them navigate either through university process or with local resources. We also have a peer mentorship program. So our first-year students and transfer students can be matched with a mentor to help guide them through that first year of college. We also are an educational space. So that includes our lending library with over 200 books, plus movies, as well as YouTube playlists that folks can use to help engage in their own learning about themselves, as well as learning about the community. We do trainings for the campus, including our Safe on Campus allyship training, our Serving Up Knowledge sessions, where we dive into more specific topics. So this year, we're talking about trans people in sports as one of those, as an example. And then we also do education for the LGBT community itself. This year, we're focusing on professional development. So how do you talk about your queer activism on your resume? If you've never worn a tie before, how do you tie a tie? Those sorts of things. And then we also do work to celebrate the LGBTQ plus community nationally, locally, with things such as drag show, which we do with our Gender and Sexuality Alliance. We try to bring in speakers and guests and folks that the queer community is really excited to see. So we try to say it's a little bit of everything, something for everyone. If you're part of the community, we're happy to be your home. And if you are not, we're happy to help you learn more.
We're joined by Blake Bonkowski, the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found on Oakland University's website, oakland.edu. That's oakland.edu for more information on the Gender and Sexuality Center, as well as other programs provided at Oakland University. Blake, for you as someone who was a student on campus before the center's work became so involved as it is now, and now as the coordinator of the Gender and Sexuality Center, speak from your experience, but also the experience of current students on why it's so important to have the Gender and Sexuality Center and the services that it provides to college students, especially, as you mentioned, those incoming college students, those freshmen and sophomores who are beginning their college experience and maybe for the first time are really independent with their sexuality, with their true self out in the world.
Yes. So research does tell us that 17, 18-ish timeframe is one of the main times people tend to come to realizations about their sexuality or their gender identity. And that is, as you mentioned, often aided by being away from family or away from the high school group that you were with. Sometimes that's because you kind of know, but you're repressing it. And sometimes you just really have no clue. And so coming to college is often a time where people are figuring this out about themselves. It's also a time for people who have already figured out that they're part of the community. Most of the students at Oakland are coming from environments where if they had an LGBT community locally, it was very small. And we're often experiencing a lot of mistreatment. And coming to Oakland University is an opportunity for those students to have a very different experience, to have a primarily positive experience, we hope, as a queer or trans person on our campus. and that we have all of these policies and procedures and the center in place to help protect you and support you when things do happen. And that's just not something that people have grown up having, not even through community LGBT centers. And for me to be able to, as a student, come into this space, learn what the values of the LGBT community were, to learn about chosen family, to learn about LGBT history, and be able to do that in a non-academic context, just amongst friends in a really casual way, was really life-changing for me, and I've been so lucky already to be able to witness that in students. I've watched students come in and pick up something from the library, and they're sunk and they're there for hours, and they're just, oh my gosh, this is finally speaking to my experience. I had students come in recently because the family member came out, and we were able to help walk them through how they could be a better ally to their family member. And having a room full of diverse LGBTQ plus people who can answer that question from different perspectives was really great. For people who are not part of the LGBTQ plus community, it's a little bit easier to find those friendships, to find professional mentors who are willing to work with you, who understand you. And so at the university level, we're able to take an equity-based approach to be able to say, this shouldn't be a situation where everyone gets the same thing. This should be a situation where everyone gets what they need. And LGBTQ plus students often do need a little bit more support in progressing through school, in navigating those interpersonal relationships, those family relationships, and meeting people who are like them. You know, we don't walk around with, I literally am today, but usually don't walk around with like pins and stickers that share our identities. And we need a place to know we can come and find each other. So watching the students engage with each other and build relationships has been so wonderful. A lot of activism ends up stemming naturally from those conversations. So we're able to also make change on campus in the local area. But just knowing you're not alone, knowing you're not the only person with a certain identity, for a lot of students, it's really the first time they've had that they weren't, especially for trans and non-binary students, to not be the trans and non-binary student is really transformational.
We're joined by Blake Bonkowski, the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center, joining us on the Megacast. More information can be found on the Gender and Sexuality Center at Oakland University on their website, oakland.edu/GSC. That's oakland.edu/GSC. For more information, Oakland University has achieved something that only the University of Michigan otherwise in the state of Michigan has achieved, a 5-star rating on the Campus Pride Index. As a 5-star rating, 5 out of 5 stars. A few years ago, Blake, you mentioned that a few years back, Oakland University's rating was 3 out of 5 stars. What changes have been made in recent years to boost the campus's LGBTQ plus friendly environment and achieve that 5-star rating?
Yeah, so a lot of things. I've mentioned the preferred name policy, preferred pronouns policy. That includes being able to have your preferred name on your ID card. We also have gender inclusive housing options for students. So this is a thing that did not exist when I was a student. The ability to say, and this would have been relevant for me, hey, I identify as a man, I would like to be housed with other men. Or I'm non-binary, I want everyone in my room to affirm that they are comfortable with rooming with a non-binary person. And we can make sure that happens. Almost all of the floors in our residence halls are co-ed now. So you can't, for me, it was, okay, we can put you in maybe in a room with another trans person, but you're going to be on an all-female floor. And then I'm automatically outed when I hit the elevator button. We don't have that system anymore, which is quite nice. We also have our student group, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, and they are strong and they do a lot of programming and support themselves directly for students, which has been huge for our rating. We also have sexual orientation and gender identity in our non-discrimination policy on campus. So on campus, you cannot be discriminated against for being LGBTQ+. And if you are, that is a direct violation of the rules. We also check a lot of boxes for training our staff across campus with our safe allyship training, so that it's not only the people in the GSC that you encounter who are competent and ready to help you, but that we try to make sure the rest of campus is ready for that as well. It's a lot of small things that add up, and that alumni group and the preferred pronouns policy are really what pushed us over the top in the end, which was a little surprising, but delightful. And what's important too to know is that getting a 5 out of 5 star rating means that you are doing an amazing job. You have lots to offer, that students have at least most of the protections that Campus Pride asks them to have. And it doesn't mean that the work is over. We certainly want to make improvements to that gender neutral housing policy. We certainly want to be doing more programming, especially intersections around race and disability. We want to be training more of the staff and more frequently. So there's still certainly work to be done. It doesn't mean that we've checked every box, but we are doing most of the things that Campus Pride is asking for a campus to do. That programming piece is really huge. We also have our LGBT employee resource group. So we have visibility from staff and faculty who are part of the community, who support us in events as well. And just having that group of safe folks people can come to is helping us on our rating as well.
We're joined by Blake Bunkowski, the coordinator of Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found at oakland.edu/GSC, oakland.edu/GSC. And Blake, as you mentioned, the 5-star rating is great. It means you're doing a great job of creating an inclusive campus for the LGBTQ plus community, but it's not where the work ends. In terms of the university's efforts, what is the state of the relationship between the GSC and the administration in terms of continuing to make those progresses and make those changes that are necessary to create a truly welcoming, inclusive, and friendly environment for all communities?
Yeah, we are currently experiencing a really positive relationship with administration. We are in the process of making some pretty major changes right now that I can't quite talk about, but we've needed a huge amount of support in that, including financial support. And the last I've heard, we have received that. And so we also know that administration is very aware of what this rating means for recruitment to the university and who's choosing to come here. That they understand that we can't say that we're good and then not actually be good. That if we're going to have this ranking and be able to brag about it, we have to be able to back it up. And so, so far in this position, it's been wonderful. We're very excited that everybody is on board and understanding the importance of what we do. And that has certainly been something that has evolved over these last 10 plus years. It's over 15 that we've had the center itself. And it means a lot in terms of what we're able to do. That was a big difference between a 3-star time period and now, is just getting a yes when we make an ask. And so we're very hopeful as we continue to make adjustments to our current policies, and to add in some of the new programs that we have not hit yet. One of those is we're hoping to bring back our Jumpstart program, where students who are incoming to the university can come in a little bit early, have their own orientation that's specific to LGBTQ plus students. And so we're hoping to build the library more. We're hoping to make some changes to our physical space to improve it. And so we're very thankful to have the support that we do as we make these big moves in the coming months and years.
Blake, as a former student in that environment, and now as the coordinator of the Gender and Sexuality Center, but more importantly, as someone that is in the LGBTQ plus community, what do these sorts of services and these efforts by the university mean to you?
It shows me that people value us as full human beings. And I did not necessarily always feel that way as a student. As a student, I really felt like a lot of the time I was shouting and fighting to be heard and to be seen. That people just didn't have an awareness of trans people in particular, and that I was often blazing a trail, being the first person that somebody had met. And for that to very much no longer be the case for every person that I've encountered on this campus in recent years, to be familiar with trans and non-binary people, to have some level of understanding of the community, and in particular, to know when they've reached their limit, to know what they don't know, to know when they need to learn more, and to be able to recognize that and speak to that and be honest about that is a really huge change that I've seen. It's really hard when people don't realize what they don't know. And the visibility and just the size of Oakland's LGBT community has grown so much and allowed these folks around campus to learn from experience. Most people at this point have gone through some kind of training. But it's really quite wonderful to see LGBTQ plus students and staff members and have their accomplishments celebrated, to have the unique perspectives that they bring to work all across the university respected and represented, and very much hope to see that continue.
Blake, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oakland.edu/GSC is the website for more information on Oakland University's Gender and Sexuality Center. We're going to take a break on the Oakland County Megacast. On the other side, we'll talk about the overturning of Roe versus Wade, gun violence in the U.S., and other issues with U.S. Representative Andy Levin. That's up next. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine. To keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast, our live daily 1-hour show about all things Oakland County. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program on our website at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations across Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now on the program is U.S. Representative Andy Levin. Representative Levin, thank you very much for joining us on today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast.
Hey, Tyler, it's great to be with you.
Good to have you on. So recently, a lot has been going on in Washington, D.C., particularly a lot of action from the U.S. Supreme Court. Of course, on June 24th, they made an historic decision overturning Roe versus Wade in another decision, of course, down the line. You attended a rally on the day of in protest of that decision that is affecting so many lives here in Michigan and across the U.S. Give us your thoughts, on the day of that decision and your continued thoughts now in some of the rhetoric that's also been said and other action that's been taken from the Supreme Court since June 24th.
Well, I'm furious, Tyler. I mean, the idea of taking away women's control over their own bodies and their own decisions that they've had constitutionally for 50 years, it's outrageous, it's wrong, and we're going to fight back tooth and nail. That morning, I demonstrated with colleagues at the Supreme Court. When I flew home, I went out to Ferndale and demonstrated there. And then Beaumont and Spectrum made the announcement that day that they were going to stop providing abortion services because of the 1931 law. Here, I said, no, there's an injunction against that law. I called the CEO and said, you've got to follow the law as it is right now. And within 24 hours, thankfully, they reversed themselves and they continue to provide the whatever necessary abortion services they were providing before. So we've got to continue to battle to protect the rights of everybody who can get pregnant and have a baby to make their own decisions right on through.
Representative Levin, there's been a lot of talk in recent years and in the past when the topic of Roe versus Wade potentially being overturned by the Supreme Court came into discussion, certainly after recent nominations to the Supreme Court and during the Trump administration that gave a conservatively nominated majority on the Supreme Court, even though it is supposed to be a nonpartisan branch of the government. That being said, as we discuss the potential of codifying the Roe versus Wade into law, there seems to be also some discussion too, some confusion with those in the general public. They may not understand what that would do to provide these services or provide the allowance of these services to people who can get pregnant throughout the U.S., thinking, well, if they overturn Roe versus Wade, couldn't the Supreme Court declare that this law is also unconstitutional? Take us through what codifying Roe versus Wade would mean for those that can get pregnant in the U.S., and particularly on this issue of abortion.
Yes, well, so what the Supreme Court did was say there's no right in the Constitution itself to access abortion care. Certainly Congress can pass as many laws to do things that aren't guaranteed in the Constitution. We have already voted to pass the Women's Health Protection Act through the House, and we need the Senate to pass it, and that would codify Roe v. Wade. It would put it into law so that even if this Supreme Court wrongfully says it's not a constitutional right, anyway, it would become a right in statute, in the law of the land nationally. At the same time, we need to fight here in Michigan, so that I'm just thrilled that the Michigan Reproductive Freedom for All ballot initiative just announced that we got the most signatures ever for any ballot initiative, and that would put the freedom to access abortion care into the Michigan Constitution, so that here in Michigan, at least, it would be there as a right, as a fundamental right that no legislature can take away. Basically, your question is such a great one. If the Constitution gives you something, no legislation can touch it. But if the Constitution is silent, as the Supreme Court says, the federal government or states can still pass statutes that give you those rights. And that's what we need to do in Congress. And meanwhile, we need to try to amend our Constitution here in Michigan to give us that right in this state.
We're joined by U.S. Representative Andy Levin, representing Michigan's 9th Congressional District at this time, and is currently running in a Democratic primary to represent Michigan's newly drawn 11th Congressional District. He'll be running in the primary election on the Democratic side of the ballot in August against Representative Haley Stevens, also currently an incumbent in the U.S. House of Representatives. We have reached out to her campaign as well in the spirit of equal time between candidates. Representative Levin, going back onto the Roe versus Wade issue and the continued discussion about potentially codifying Roe versus Wade into the constitutional law federally, there is a Democratic majority in the Senate at this time. However, there are some obstructions that are in place that would make passing this legislation you discussed that would codify Roe versus Wade difficult to get through the Senate. How important is it for the Democratic Party, which seems to be leading the charge to codify Roe versus Wade, to overcome those obstructions, particularly the filibuster, in order to get this into law, especially considering that the midterm elections are coming up, and those could also have a significant impact on your party's ability to pass this legislation?
Right. Well, my view is that the midterm elections are going to be a big wake-up call for America, and people are going to come out in droves to defend our rights and elect Democrats up and down the ballot, because we are the ones who vote to protect reproductive freedom. And it's not about, people can be for abortion, against abortion. It's not like that. We're a secular democracy where nobody's religion or views is supposed to determine what someone else can do. And that's all my position is, leave it up to each woman and her doctor, each person who can get pregnant and their doctor. So codifying Roe v. Wade is super important. We don't even have 50 senators, we don't have all 50 Democratic senators who are for this right now. I believe Senator Manchin is not. So we need to elect more Democrats to the Senate. And we absolutely need to get rid of the filibuster over there. And I've said that from way before this issue, Tyler, because the filibuster is a vestige of Jim Crow. It was put there just to prevent Black people from becoming full, equal citizens of the United States. That's all it was used for most of its history. And it is stopping the Senate from doing the people's business. The founding fathers didn't want to let minorities, a minority rule in the Senate and block progress. Right now, as long as you have 41 people in the Senate, you can stop almost any bill from happening. And that's why the Senate isn't acting on giving workers the freedom to form unions and raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour and, passing the Equality Act to protect the rights of all LGBTQ people and so many other things that we need to get done for the people of this country. So we got to get rid of the filibuster over there. But having a 50-50 Senate just doesn't cut it. We've got to elect more Democrats in the Senate so we can get the people's business done, because even with getting rid of the filibuster, if one or two people aren't with you, you can't pass something. And so we need a bigger margin over there.
We're joined by U.S. Representative Andy Levin, representing Michigan's 9th Congressional District at this time, and is running in the primary election this August to represent Michigan's newly drawn 11th Congressional District as well. Representative Levin, 6 weeks ago, of course, we had the tragic school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, at an elementary school. Of course, over the holiday weekend, another mass shooting, which is just one of many in the last several weeks, this time in Highland Park, just outside of Chicago in Illinois. Can you talk to us about some legislation that you're working on, including the bipartisan Safer Communities Act? This would enhance background checks for prospective gun owners under the age of 21. Also would extend the time period from 3 days to 10 days, allowing law enforcement to do initial mental health and juvenile criminal records, as well as other background checks as well. Can you talk about this legislation, where it's at in the process, and some of the other details other than what I've just previewed that this would do to help address the gun violence issue in the U.S.?
Yes, well, I'm happy to say that the Senate has finally passed some basic, some of the narrowest sensible gun reform legislation, and the president has signed it. So we have passed these regulations to subject 18, 19, and 20-year-olds to more stringent background checks, to deal with ghost guns, to do more mental health work, to encourage states to pass red flag laws. But we need to do much, much more, Tyler. After the Oxford shooting, I wrote the Protect Children Through Safe Gun Ownership Act. It would regulate minors having access to handguns, making sure there's parental supervision. It would require safe storage and of guns and ammunition in homes. And it would provide funds for school systems to do age-appropriate education for parents and kids on keeping kids safe from guns. And that my new legislation has been backed by all the major sensible gun reform groups and by both teachers' unions because of the educational provisions. We have to do much, much more. We have to ban assault weapons. We have to make background checks completely universal. We have to get rid of these high-capacity magazines completely. America has a big problem here, Tyler. You can't put it off on mental health. You can't put it off on other things. We have way, way more deaths by guns than any other country. It's not like 20% more or 50% more or twice as much. It's 3 and 5 and 10 and 20 times as many. So you mentioned how many mass shootings there were and homicides just over July 4th weekend. You know how many there have been in the United Kingdom this whole year? 4 gun homicides the whole year in the United Kingdom, when we have 5 times that many deaths by gun every day in the United States. So we've got to do more. It's a public health epidemic, really. And it's not about the Second Amendment, because people can have a right to have guns, but we need to, if you have to have so much regulation and training and everything to drive a car, it makes sense to have just sensible restrictions and requirements about gun ownership, so we can stem this horrifying death toll. Tyler, now being killed by guns is the #1 cause of death of children in this country. I mean, that's just completely unacceptable and unnecessary.
We're joined by U.S. Representative Andy Levin on the Michigan Megacast. He's currently the representative of the 9th Congressional District in the state of Michigan. He's running for re-election, this time in a new district, the 11th Congressional District, where he is running in the Democratic primary against current U.S. Representative Haley Stevens. They'll be competing against each other in the primary for the Democratic side of the ballot coming up in August. I do want to address that too, Representative Levin. First of all, what are your thoughts on the new maps here in Michigan, and what led you to decide that you're going to run in the 11th Congressional District, especially given that another representative is also running in that district, who's also in your party and is also currently in Congress?
Yes, well, so, we don't have any control over the maps. I'm glad we passed this voters not politician thing to get the partisanship out of it. So they drew these maps, and there was no question for me that I would run in the new 11th, because that's where I live. My house is smack dab in the middle of it. Mary and I, my wife and I, have lived there for 16 years. And we've raised all 4 of our kids there. I grew up in Berkeley. That's in the new 11th district. My dad lives in Royal Oak in the new 11th district. His mom was born in Birmingham in 1898 in the new 11th district. So, really, my kids are the 5th generation of my family to live here. And everybody that I represent almost in Oakland County is in the new 11th district. So it was a real no-brainer. It's unfortunate to be in a Democratic primary, but you know what? I'm running on my record. I'm running as the progressive, as the principled candidate, as the pragmatic candidate who's gotten a lot done in Congress. And I'll let the people, choose us instead of us trying to choose our voters. I don't really believe in that. And this is a democracy. So let the people decide. And I'm all good with it.
We're joined by U.S. Representative Andy Levin, currently representing the 9th Congressional District, representing Michigan in the U.S. Congress. He is running for the 11th Congressional District in the state of Michigan in the Democratic primary coming up in August. He'll be going up against also current U.S. Representative Haley Stevens. I want to give you some opportunity, Representative Levin, before we wrap up here. This past April, you introduced the Guaranteeing Overtime for Truckers Act in Congress that would repeal certain exemptions in the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA, that are restricting overtime for truck drivers. Can you talk about that legislation, where that is at, and how that would benefit truckers, especially at this time with the supply chain issues continuing to be what they are, and trucking being even more important now than it has been before, when it still has been vital to our economy?
Absolutely. This would benefit truckers, but it would also benefit all of us in multiple ways, Tyler. It's a great example of my bipartisan work in Congress. This is the lead co-sponsor is Jeff Van Drew, a Republican from New Jersey. So this is amazing. The over-the-road truckers have been exempted from overtime pay. They have not gotten overtime pay for the whole history of the Fair Labor Standards Act since the 1930s. And so it gives companies an incentive to try to work truckers overtime. That makes their lives miserable, and it keeps pay suppressed, and it's not fair to them. And so the turnover in trucking is incredible. There's not enough truck drivers, and it contributes to these supply chain problems. And so by ending the exemption, putting overtime pay back there for truck drivers, we would, first of all, truck drivers would have a better life. They'd make more money, and they'd have more reasonable hours. Secondly, we would reduce turnover and have more, veteran truck drivers staying with the profession. We would ease the supply chain problems by having an adequate supply of truckers. But Tyler, there's a whole nother benefit that I didn't even realize when I started on this. It would improve safety and save lives, because it turns out, it's not that surprising, that new truck drivers in their first year are involved in many, many more accidents than more veteran truck drivers. So you cut turnover and you save lives. And that's why all the major trucking safety groups have backed this legislation, because, they've lost a loved one to an accident when some super tired trucker fell asleep and crossed over and killed got in a crash. I mean, we really can improve safety and the supply chain problem and the lives of truckers by passing the Guaranteed Overtime for Truckers Act. So we've introduced it. It's gaining a lot of momentum, and I'm pushing for a hearing on it as soon as possible.
Representative Levin, appreciate your time. Anything else for us before we let you go today?
No, Tyler, that's it. I'm just so happy to be, running in Oakland County, where I'm from, in this new 11th district. And I encourage everybody to get out and vote. And this is our democracy, and we've seen how fragile it is. So everybody participate, because there's not, above any given issue of policy, is saving our democracy. And getting out and voting is one way you can do your part. Thanks, Tyler.
Appreciate it, Representative Levin. We've been joined by Representative Andy Levin on the Oakland County Megacast. We're going to take a break on the program on our radio homes for the show. 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. On the other side, we'll kick off the Michigan Megacast with one of the over 1,000 artists you'll be able to meet at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Michigan Megacast.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine. To keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft, welcoming you to our live 5 days a week look into all things Michigan. Today, we'll be talking to artists, activists, and more about topics important to Michiganders like you. Learn more on our program at civiccentertv.com, at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now on the Megacast is one of the numerous artists that you can meet at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. Kelley Waterfall is a woodworking artist, a Michigan native, and even a former reporter at our Michigan Megacast co-flagship, Civic Center TV, and joins us now on the program. Kelley, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, you are a woodworking artist with Waterfall Woodworking is the name of your business, but you also work in advertising. In a previous life, you were a TV reporter also and a journalist. So what got you into woodworking?
Yeah, so in 2020, the pandemic, my husband and I bought a house. And I really wanted to furnish this house, and it was so expensive. Furniture is not cheap, and I really wanted a very specific dining table. And so I decided I was going to make it myself, and that started hours of research, YouTube videos, and I just went for it one day, and everyone thought I was crazy, and then it spiraled into so much more.
So it's not easy to put together a piece of furniture or any woodworking project by any means. How do you manage your time between your work in advertising and also your work as a woodworking artist?
Yeah, managing time is not easy, but I work all day pretty much 9 to 5, and I work remote, so I work from home, so that's awesome. So the second I'm done with work, I head out to my garage and I spend hours in the garage, until it's time to close down for the night and, eat dinner and have a normal life. And then on the weekends, it's pretty much all I do.
So one of the great things about your art is that the wood that you're using to create it is locally sourced. Where do you get most of the wood for this project, for these projects?
Yeah, so I get all my lumber, at local lumber mills. Specifically, I go to one just south of Lansing. It's called Johnson Millworks, and they're a great lumber company. And so I go, I pick out all my lumber, and I get it rough, and then I mill it all down myself in my garage. I work out of my garage. I've taken it over and put all my tools in there.
We're joined by Kelley Waterfall, one of over 1,000 artists that you'll be able to see at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, beginning Thursday, July 21st, and running through Saturday, July 23rd, on over 30 blocks of Ann Arbor. The dates are Thursday, July 21st, and Friday, July 22nd, from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m., and then Saturday, July 23rd, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. You can learn more about the Ann Arbor Art Fair by visiting theannarborartfair.com. That's theannarborartfair.com, and in terms of Kelley's work, you can find more information on her website at waterfallwoodworking.com or by visiting her Instagram page at waterfallwoodworking. Kelley, as we continue on, it's your first year at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. What attracted you to the Ann Arbor Art Fair, and what are you looking forward to going to this art show?
Well, Ann Arbor Art Fair, it's the big one. Everyone knows about it, and it is just such a cool event. I remember going to it. I did a news story on it one time, and so I finally felt ready enough this year to apply for the art fair, and I felt so honored to get into this huge art fair. And I'm just so excited to be alongside, the best artists in Michigan and to see all their work. It is so cool just being around like-minded people and people, who do this as a hobby or full-time. It's really inspirational. So I'm just excited to be there for 3 days. Obviously to have my art on display is a big deal, because I've put so much time and effort into it, but also to be around so many amazing artists.
So you said earlier on that you began woodworking as a hobby during the pandemic while you were at home, and eventually just realized that you really enjoyed it and you were really good at it. When did it click with you that this could be a side gig for you and be a business in art on top of what you do in your professional career?
Yeah, well, soon after I made that very first table, people started asking me for them. So I started by selling some tables. Now, those are a lot of work. It was almost too much to fit into my full-time job. And so then I was like, well, what else can I make? And it kind of just naturally turned to cutting boards and working with epoxy and fun stuff like that. So it really just kind of spiraled. I'm always looking for the next thing. I do a lot of DIY too. I'm always looking around my house. Well, what can I do? What can I do for my family? I'm always offering to make things that people want, because I just find it so much fun to be working with wood and then just to be able to create anything that really comes to my mind.
Website for Kelley's workings are at waterfallwoodworking.com, waterfallwoodworking.com, and Instagram at waterfallwoodworking. We're joined by Kelley Waterfall from Waterfall Woodworking. You'll find her Thursday, July 21st through Saturday, July 23rd at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. More information on the art fair at theannarborartfair.com. Kelley, what is your approach to making each of these pieces? Obviously, for some, it's going to be clients that are coming to you and asking you to make a very specific woodworking for furniture or another design. But when you start making your own designs, what's your process? Where do you go from the start to the finish?
I really just take some time to think about what I want to make or what I'm going for. Some of it's totally random. This board right here, I just kind of put together a bunch of pieces of wood, and this is the pattern I got, and it turned out pretty cool. Some of it's a little more thought out. This piece, I really wanted to make a more rainbow pattern, and so that's what I went for here. It totally depends. The creative process is kind of all over the place. It depends what I'm making. For the art fairs, I have more of a structured process. I know I want to take some of my ocean epoxy pieces and then an array of cutting boards. This seashell piece over here, this is seashells actually encased in epoxy, is for my grandma, and I was on the beach in Florida at her house, and I was like, I'm going to pick up some seashells and throw them in epoxy. So it's totally random and really whatever comes to my mind. And that's the greatest thing about this hobby. And I think really being an artist in general is that you just have full creative ability to do whatever you want.
We're joined by Kelley Waterfall from Waterfall Woodworking. You'll find her at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd in Ann Arbor. 30 blocks of the city taken up by 3 different art shows, including other entertainment and activities as well. More information on all the art shows and all the activities at theannarborartfair.com. You can learn more about Kelley's work at waterfallwoodworking.com. Kelley, you mentioned, and we've talked about this already, that this really began for you during the pandemic as an activity that you took up as something to occupy your time. And then, of course, as people got interested in some of your workings, it became more than just a hobby for you. But where did you learn these skills? Was it all just learning woodworking in the throes of the pandemic? Had you had previous experience with this?
No, I had no previous experience with this. And it's so funny because I grew up very kind of scared of everything. I've always been terrified of hurting myself. And so my family thinks it's so funny that now I work with saws every day. And like, something could go wrong, but I'm very safe with it. But yeah, I really just learned it all during the pandemic. Had never thought I would do anything like this in my life. Which is why it's such a shock to the people close to me. But I really just learned on the internet through YouTube, through meeting other creators online, and then through just lots of reading and research.
So Kelley, this is your first time at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. We've already talked about what brings you to Ann Arbor and what prompted you to apply to be part of this extensive art show. Have you been participating in other art shows, or is this also your first art show in general?
I've done Berkeley Art Bash, which is a great art show as well. That was my first one I did last year in 2021, and it was a great success. And then I did it again this year, which was in June. And so that's what kind of prompted me to be like, okay, I think I'm ready for a multiple day art fair and ready to fly for Ann Arbor.
So a lot of what you do is customized to what your client would like, but you also make general pieces as well. What will you be bringing with you to the Ann Arbor Art Fair? What are some of the pieces people can expect to see?
Yeah, definitely. So I will be bringing everything you see here and so much more. No piece is really one of a kind. I have certain patterns I'll stick to with my cutting boards, but every ocean piece, every epoxy piece is truly one of a kind. I'll be having an array of colors. I do some boards where I put coffee beans in the middle. Those are really cool. Just all sorts of serving boards, coasters, cutting boards, really anything you could want for home and kitchen decor I'll have.
More information on all of Kelley's work can be found at waterfallwoodworking.com and on Instagram at waterfallwoodworking, instagram.com/waterfallwoodworking or waterfallwoodworking.com. And of course, more information on the Ann Arbor Art Fair, 30 blocks of the city, over 1,000 artists, as well as other activities at the Ann Arbor Art Fair.com. That's the Ann Arbor Art Fair.com for more information on the Ann Arbor Art Fair. July 21st through 23rd, the Thursday and Friday dates, 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. Saturday, July 23rd, 1 hour less, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Get you home nice and early on that weekend evening. Kelley, in terms of your more customized pieces, if people are interested in getting some furniture made by you or another piece made by you as you do your woodworking, about how long can they expect based on, of course, the size and the design of the piece from the point that they inquire to the point that they would receive their piece from you?
It totally depends the size of the piece. If I have it, on hand, leftovers from the art fair, that's obviously a quick thing I can hand over to them. If it's something I have to make custom, I always say about 2 weeks, just to make sure I have the time to do it. When I'm doing art fairs, I don't take as much custom orders, but this is likely my last art fair for the summer. So I'll have plenty of time after that. And I always tell people, I give them my business card at events, email me is the greatest way to, talk through your ideas, and I'll come up with a custom quote and everything. I also always offer engraving on my pieces. This is my last name, but I know a lot of people like that for wedding gifts. So I always make sure to bring that up at the art fairs. If someone sees something they love, I could always take it home and engrave it for them. So totally depends on the piece, but generally like 2 weeks.
We're joined by Kelley Waterfall from Waterfall Woodworking. She's one of over 1,000 artists you'll find at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, 3 art fairs, entertainment, and more on the Ann Arbor Art Fair.com. July 21st through 23rd, really basically just go to downtown Ann Arbor. It's 30 blocks of the city that will be taken up by this art fair. Again, the Ann Arbor Art Fair.com, and Kelley's art can be found on waterfallwoodworking.com. Kelley, another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be interesting or important for our audience to know about your woodworking or what you'll be doing at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair?
I'm just so excited to be at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. Like I said, I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm so excited to be by so many awesome artists. I spend so much time on my art, and I'm just thankful that people will get to, see it and appreciate it. I think that's really what the Ann Arbor Art Fair is about, is just getting to know so many different artists. I have so many people that will come up to my booth at previous art fairs and just admire what I do. You don't have to buy anything, it's okay. I just love to share my art with the world, and this is something I genuinely love doing. So I'm really excited.
More information can be found on waterfallwoodworking.com. Kelley, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Going to take a break on the Michigan Megacast. On the other side, we'll transition and talk about how the gun violence issue in America continues to be evidence of racial inequities and more issues in our communities right here in the state of Michigan. Tristan Taylor from Detroit Will Breathe joins us next to talk about that and more on the Michigan Megacast.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast, our live daily 1-hour program about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program on our website at CivicCenterTV.com on our Megacast page, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including our Michigan Megacast co-flagship, My Michigan TV, which you can also find at MyMyTV.com, MyMyTV.com, for more information on all of their original programming, all about Michigan for you, Michiganders, as well as their free apps for your smartphones and your smart TVs. My Michigan TV is the name of the app on any of your smartphone app stores. Joining us now on the Michigan Megacast is Tristan Taylor from Detroit Will Breathe. Tristan, appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, for those that may not be familiar with your organization, tell us about Detroit Will Breathe.
Well, Detroit Will Breathe was formed in 2020 in the heat of the movement for Black Lives. And we are an organization that was formed in order to give an organized and collective voice to like the people who were protesting, who wanted to not only bring accountability to the police department, but who really were thinking about how to deal with the structural inequality and racism that permeates our society, and what it would take to really eradicate and deal with those issues.
And Tristan, there's so many different contexts by which to understand these issues and to understand where we are at in our society in America and in the state of Michigan in terms of battling systemic racism and resolving these issues to create a more equitable society. And I think unfortunately, one of those disparities that makes this so clear is in the reaction from law enforcement, in particular when we have incidents like we had over the weekend in Buffalo, where there was a shooting at a supermarket in Buffalo that took several lives. The shooter, it was later revealed the shooter's motivation for this incident was racially motivated, and yet he's brought in seemingly so peacefully, brought in to be arrested after that incident, whereas we've seen so many times that people of color, that black people, are taken in and with great force, sometimes even killed or severely injured as they're being arrested. So as you're watching what unfolded in Buffalo over the weekend, and the story is coming in initially with the reaction to the shooting and the way that this person was apprehended, what were your thoughts, especially on how that reflects systemic racism as it pertains to arrests in the United States?
Well, I think it reflected two things. One, to me, the broader question of why people feel emboldened to make these attacks, I think is one that needs to be talked about, because my feeling is with the way in which we fail to prosecute and bring justice people who do harm to Black bodies, in particular the police, it just sends a message that you can attack us without impunity. And the second thing is, along your point about the grace almost in which white assailants is what you might call them, right, or whatever, are handled versus Black people who face brutalization for minor traffic stops, right? Patrick Leola died for a minor traffic violation. And it makes you question the whole intent of the police and what their role actually is, what purpose they serve. And it also questions, how all the ways in which we express a lack of value for Black and brown lives.
Yeah, and it's reflected in the rhetoric that surrounds these incidents. You mentioned, and you said something that I thought was very interesting and thought-provoking, which is that the rhetoric that is out there inspires these acts of racially motivated violence that we saw in places like Buffalo, and we've seen in so many other places of late, where these so-called assailants go into different locations with the goal of shooting and killing as many people as they can, that simply with the simple motivation of, I'm killing them because they fail to be white. And that speaks to a greater danger that is out there that is motivating this, and that's some of this political rhetoric that is out there that's being inspired by those that are in power in certain political spectrums in the U.S., and the way that they inspire these people to come out of the woodwork and then be accepted, or maybe accepted, it's not the best word for that, but be a little bit more, let's say, pampered as they're being brought in. When these incidents happen, when you have an act of violence that's being committed by somebody that is white and male, especially straight white and male, often the wording that comes in afterward is troubled, or they have issues, or they were frustrated, which doesn't do justice to the fact that they killed people. They aim to kill people because of the color of their skin, because of the way that they are, because of who they are, and that act of violence should not be acceptable in any way. And so when you hear these kinds of words coming through, when you're referring to white assailants, but then you have someone that's committing maybe a minor incident and is brought in safely and does cooperate with the police, and then gets brutalized in the process, be called something like a thug, how does that make you as a Black man feel?
Well, a couple of things. One, you used the word accepted, and I thought about that, and I was like, well, some of these folks have been accepted, right? Yeah. I think about Kyle Rittenhouse, right? I think about the January 6th rioters, right? Who have been hailed as defenders of American democracy, as defenders of property. And so there is an element upon which these folks have been like embraced. And when Patrick Leola was murdered by Grand Rapids Police Department, they made sure to release his traffic record to show that he had like previous violations. Like they're always when Black and brown people are involved, trying to make us out as like criminals from the beginning and troublemakers instead of being troubled, right? No one ever asked the question. Patrick Leola, for example, was a refugee from the Republic of Congo. Like he is a refugee that escaped, violence and war. And to this day, there has not been a discussion about the troubles that he faced as a consequence of that. What we get instead is a toxicology report saying that, oh, well, actually, he was inebriated. So there you go. That's problematic, right? And that is problematic because it speaks to the ways in which the police actually not just like uphold, but help instigate this narrative, right? This stereotype in the way that Black and brown people are treated, and in the way like, white suspects are treated. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody's asking for more brutalization. Nobody is saying that, well, if you are bringing in Black people, if you're bringing in people of color in a way that is often violent, that should also be the way that you bring in everybody else. That's part of the problem, is the violence itself. But what you're speaking to is beyond that. It's the disparity in the way that certain people are apprehended versus other people, and the way that has not been properly addressed by the authorities. We've heard, especially in the wake of the murder of George Floyd in 2020 and the protests that mounted as a result of that incident, as well as many other incidents well before that, spanning decades, that the police need better training. They need to rethink their training. They need to go through sensitivity training. They need to go through implicit bias training. And in many cases, those have been implemented, but that's not quite enough. So when you, as a leader of an organization like Detroit Will Breathe, are in discussions with those in leadership positions, what are you urging them to be considering as they look into the present and the future and try to bridge these gaps and solve these issues that are serious and severe issues throughout our society?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think we demand is for the persecution of police officers who are involved in violent crimes, right? And we want, termination of officers who are part of using excessive force, or who partake in, illegal activity or behavior that is damaging, to people. The second thing is that we make a demand that we actually de-emphasize the role of police. And I put that lightly. The truth is, for us, the police serve no purpose but to enforce inequality, right? They don't protect us. They don't ever see their job as protecting us, especially Black and brown people. They see their job as containing us and treating us as potential criminals all the time. That's baked into what policing is. And the only way to resolve that is by getting rid of it and replacing it with institutions and systems that actually look to deal with the problems that cause and create people to partake in criminal activity, or what it means to keep a neighborhood safe. If we don't have resources for people in the neighborhood that can help them sustain themselves and their families, it doesn't matter, right? If we keep throwing money at the police. But the most important thing is we need to see accountability, and we need to see the persecutions of these officers involved, who have these egregious records against them around excessive force and complaints against citizens. There was a recent article in Deadline Detroit, for example, that showed extensively a problem within the Detroit Police Department in actually even suspending or bringing into making sure that they were disciplined for having, egregious complaints against them. So that's our problem. Like we need persecution of these police officers, and we need to stop funding police departments. We need to be putting that money and resources into things that can actually help people be safe.
And you mentioned money and the resources, that those go so far when you actually invest in those resources in communities, when you have access to proper and helpful mental health care, when you have access to those that are able to properly and are properly trained to de-escalate situations and to bring a sense of calm and to bring a sense of humanity to situations that are often tense and highly emotional, and they should be, because they're intense moments of life. And to be able to have those resources, you see in communities that do have those resources, that crime numbers, so to speak, are lower, that these kinds of incidents aren't seen as often. But there are so many communities throughout the state of Michigan, throughout the United States, that simply do not have these kinds of resources, and the investment's not being made in these resources to bridge those gaps. How big of an impact does that have when you on those that may be in these kinds of situations, when they have nowhere to turn, and then you see, and then organizations like yours are out there and advocating for this? What sort of these programs does organizations like Detroit Will Breathe and others similar to it in Michigan and across the U.S., what sort of programs are they looking to be invested in these communities in place of such an emphasis on police intervention?
One of the things, for example, is like mental health services, right? And again, like the question of mental health certainly came up with the shooter in Buffalo. It always does. These white mass shooters. It's never a question though of Black people like having need of mental health services, right? It's always, no, we're just criminals, and that's why we do what we do. We need more public infrastructure that can not just do like job training, but just even be places where like community programs can be offered and implemented, right? We need public schools, right? Every public school that I went to in Detroit is like closed. We've had over 120 schools like closed in the city, and what that means for neighborhoods who the school served as a community hub is that they no longer have an anchor to keep them afloat. So we need schools, we need libraries, like I said, we need job training, like we need affordable housing, and we need more social workers, right?
Yeah, all these resources critical to communities in a number of different facets, not just on the subject of quote unquote crime or incidents in the community. They have impacts on a number of different levels. Taylor, another couple of minutes before we'll have to say goodbye today. Before I let you go, I wanted to give you an opportunity to give us some more information on if people are interested in participating in different events and programs with Detroit Will Breathe. How can they find out more information?
Well, definitely follow us on our social media pages. We both have like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and it's at Detroit Will Breathe. You can also go on the website, DetroitWillBreathe.info, and check out the postings of the latest campaigns or actions that we have there.
Thanks, Tristan. Appreciate your time. We appreciate you joining us. That's been Tristan Taylor from Detroit Will Breathe. Appreciate you taking the time to join us on today's edition of the Megacast. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll shift gears and talk about art with jewelry artist Jason McLeod. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Michigan Megacast.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. keep my family safe, and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast, our live daily 1-hour program about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program on our website at CivicCenterTV.com by clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now on the program is Jason McLeod. He is a jewelry artist and one of the over 1,000 artists that you can see at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd on 30 blocks of Ann Arbor. Jason, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. First off, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your art that you'll be bringing to this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair.
Well, I make just fine jewelry, gold, silver, platinum, kind of just my own designs. Just sort of happened. Self-taught, so I don't really follow a particular school or theme. I just do what I do, and yeah.
So
try to make it interesting, make it a little special, make it, that's the main thing. Yeah.
So Jason,
make it justify the time that it takes to make it, basically.
So Jason, where did this begin for you? You said you were self-taught in creating this art. Where did your process begin?
Well, it depends on where you put the real starting point, because I made art my whole life. I mean, I started making stuff. My mother's an artist and an art teacher, so I just started making stuff very young. But if you wanted to say the easiest mark for the jewelry is about 17, pushing 18 years. I was in Oakland, California, and basically got in a couple car crashes and had a graphic design advertising business that I ran out there that got 2 car accidents 6 months apart, tore all the muscles around my spine, couldn't move very much, and had to do something to stay busy and, you know, keep my mind good. And through a mess of stuff with inheritance of, you know, family heirlooms and figuring that out, I had to learn a bunch about jewelry and old metalwork and things. And I kind of got into it, and finally I was like, well, maybe I'll make some myself. And people wanted to buy it. And well, it kind of has snowballed from there.
So do you make all kinds of jewelry, or is it specific kinds that you specialize in?
I mean, yeah, I'm blessed in that I just make whatever I want, because it turns out people buy everything that I make. Sooner or later, somebody buys everything. So I mean, got inspired. You know, I made a pyramid box. Don't know why, but, you know, it just seemed like you had to. So it's a box, gold, silver, 18 karat gold, sterling silver, and aquamarines. And, you know, you can store stuff in parallel universe or whatever. Or, and that led to a pyramid ring with also has a little, and then a couple of years ago, everybody was stuck at home and the government said, make PPE. So I'm a manufacturer, so I made a mask.
Ah.
You know, just, but also just, you know, just bring up just jewelry, you know, just nice bracelets and stuff. I like stuff that, things that I haven't, you know, that I want to see that I haven't seen or whatever. That's a lot of the inspiration. If I like it, it's right. That's the design standard, because I figure I'm human and a certain percentage of y'all are human too. So, but.
We're joined by Jason McLeod. He's a jewelry artist that you'll see at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd. More information on the Ann Arbor Art Fair can be found at theannarborartfair.com. You can also learn more about Jason's art by visiting jasonmcleod.com. jasonmcleod.com for more information on his art as well. And so, Jason, having that you mentioned that a lot of your art is just what comes to your mind or what is in your creative process at that time. Take us through a little bit of your creative process from start to finish and where you go in devising your designs and then executing those designs to create these final pieces.
Well, like one of the a big theme collection is this that I do is this time traveler stuff, which is it's on the mask I showed you and the pyramid, and it's this kind of, let's see if I can get this in here. It's like star chart kind of celestial stuff. So like this bracelet right here is the star cuff, the narrow star cuff, and it's got a little abacus with sliding beads for, you know, adjusting your settings and stuff like that. I don't know. And that starts with banging on the metal, which I was a musician. I started playing drums at like 5 years old. So that's another thing. I like to bang on things. And chasing on that is when it's a flat piece of metal. I can show you some if you'd like.
Sure.
It's a little noisy right at first, but over here I've got this piece of metal. It's just a flat piece of silver is going to be a bracelet like this. And really the first step is going to be where, well, different, you know, like that's just a straight line tool basically. And the pattern, I actually need to be able to, I like to pretend I can see, but just do. I'm not to smash my finger on TV here.
Yeah, try not to. Keep it safe. So for those on the radio, what Jason is doing is he is striking this piece of metal to shape it the way that he would like to do so, using a metallic mallet.
Yeah, it's a big brass mallet.
Brass mallet, okay. And as he said, working to shape it in a way that's conducive to creating the art as he sees fit, fitting that vision. He's doing a demonstration. You can see this demonstration on demand later on our website if you're listening on the radio at CivicCenterTV.com. On our Megacast link, you may also find it and find all of our on-demand programming on My Michigan TV's website at mymytv.com, mymytv.com, as well as on the free My Michigan TV apps for your smartphones and smart TVs. Of course, more information on mymytv.com. We're joined by Jason McLeod. He is a jeweler that you'll find at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, and as you can see now on the screen, that's the final result of what he was just doing there.
You know, just build it up from there. So, and then this pattern, this comes from, like, we've even looked at it as there are ways to like mechanize this and everything, but just because I've done this so many times, thousands of times, it's just in my hands to do it rather quickly and easily. So all of these pieces from this collection basically start with me doing this and starting creating in, you know, whatever pattern it is, because each one has different patterns. And I also, it's a formula that works around itself, but I do each one, I make it up as I go along so that each one is one of a kind too.
We're joined by Jason McLeod. You can find more information on his art at jasonmcleod.com. You'll see him at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd. More information on the art fair can be found at the AnnArborArtFair.com. Over 1,000 artists, including Jason McLeod, as well as other entertainment, music, activities, and more on 30 blocks of Ann Arbor. The Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd in the heart of Ann Arbor. Jason, just continuing on with the last couple of years of the work that you've been doing during the pandemic, how did COVID-19 impact your art, A, and your approach to the art, and B, your connection with the art given the circumstances of the world around us?
It was pretty crazy. I mean, it definitely, I was about 45 minutes from my hotel in Atlanta for a show there when I got the word that the show was canceled in March of 2020, and within a day or so, 6-8 months of shows were canceled. So it was pretty nuts. But luckily, because it's a small shop, I have a few apprentices who are working for me. We were able to, like, one guy worked from home. My assistant, my business assistant, she worked from home, and we would trade day shift, night shift. And there was a weird kind of blessing from it because it forced us to really make the online work. And we were able to do that. The online really worked. We built it up in 2020, we did more online than I had done for all the years previous to that. And it's continued. So in a better position now, but it was crazy. It was pretty nuts. And it was definitely, the uncertainty was kind of crazy, but we managed to not lay anybody off. And, there's really only 4 of us, but still we all everybody kept their jobs. We made it work. So, and then, like I said, people I knew were saying, artists, they're like, hey, I'm making masks and stuff. I was like, oh man, I got to make a mask. And so I spent a few months doing that, which was, got about halfway through and wished that I wouldn't get myself into. But any case, it's tricky because, like, I do a lot of wholesale, and I've had phases where I was thinking I'm going to go wholesale direction, and I realized that now I never get out of the shop. I'd be on email or on the phone and just in the shop, and I like going out. I like leaving town. I like traveling. I like meeting the people. As an artist, it really doesn't hurt to have people tell you, "Oh, this is wonderful, how great your stuff," in person. So I actually, that being, I love the city where I live, and Virginia is an awesome, wonderful place, especially because I get to leave a couple times a month. And so 6 months of being stuck here was, but that's what life's got to, something's going to happen, right? So you got to keep it interesting. So, but go ahead.
We're joined by Jason McLeod. He is a jewelry artist. You'll find at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd. You can find more information on his art at jasonmcleod.com, jasonmcleod.com. So you are a traveling artist. You go to art shows all around the country, including in your home state of Virginia. What about Ann Arbor is attractive to you as an artist?
Well, I mean, this will be the first time I do this show, and I actually have been invited to the show a number of times. It's scheduling is always the trick, and I've always had a whole bunch of busy shows leading right up to the Ann Arbor show, and so it just hasn't quite worked out. And though I have been in most of the states of this country, I think at least 40 or so, that the Michigan, that area is not as much. So I'm psyched to see that. I'm psyched to explore that area a bit. And I know this is one of the oldest shows too of this kind. It's, you know, in the country. And so that's cool. So yeah, I'm sorry, my phone was ringing. So I'm looking forward to it. And I definitely, like, Chicago is about the closest. I do a number of shows in Chicago, and that's about the closest. And it's always been tempted to just go, you know, head, I guess, north, west, or so from there. But anyways, so I'm psyched to see it. I'm psyched to see it. I know that it's a big tradition for Michigan and for Ann Arbor and stuff. And so, yeah, it's been a long time I've been doing shows. I've been curious about it. So looking forward to it.
Michigan is a state full of art lovers, and Ann Arbor is a great art town. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time there meeting all the good people at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. Jason, appreciate your time. Before we let you go, one more minute with you. Anything else that we should know about your art or should expect from you at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair?
Come check it out in person. We do all kinds. I'll show you a few things, but there's probably 200 or 300 designs in the other room that, you know, love to show you in person. And yeah.
In the meantime, jasonmcleod.com for more information on all of his art. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate it. More information, again, jasonmcleod.com for more info on his art, and the Ann Arbor Art Fair.com for all the information you need to know about this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. 3 art fairs in one, plus entertainment, plus other activities, 30 blocks of the city, July 21st through 23rd, including over 1,000 artists. Plenty of variety there for all art lovers of all different varieties and all different tastes. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Oakland County and the Michigan Megacasts. As always, you can find all of our full episodes and each individual interview on demand by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on a Megacast link. Scroll down a little ways, click on watch full episodes or watch full interviews to watch all of our content from today's episode. It's usually on our website sometime mid to late afternoon each and every day. On our Megacast page, you'll also learn more information about each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets in Oakland County and all throughout the Great Lakes state. We also highly encourage you to go to our local news page on CivicCenterTV.com to keep up to date on all the information you need to know on COVID-19 from resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services in Lansing, Michigan, and the Oakland County Health Division located in Pontiac, as well as news stories beyond the COVID-19 headlines all across the state of Michigan from journalistic outlets, the Great Lakes state. If you are going and reading those articles and you have the means to do so, we highly encourage you to subscribe to those publications as well and support local journalism in all regions of the state of Michigan. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's edition of the program from all different areas across the state of Michigan and around the U.S. who will be coming to Michigan very soon. And of course, a huge thank you to our crew that makes this program possible each and every day. Calvin Brown and Jared Clark at Master Control at our offices of My Michigan TV in Troy, Michigan, as well as Larry Nyland, the king of television himself, our producer, helping us and our guests get ready for shows each and every day. That's it for today's edition of the Megacast. We'll return tomorrow with new editions of the Oakland County and the Michigan Megacasts.